let's stay with that story. It's 30 years since Nelson Mandela was released from prison. It was a historic moment that changed the political trajectory of the country. Here's a snippet of Madiba's speech at Cape Town's Grand Parade on the 11th of February 1990.
Today, the majority of South Africa, black and white, recognize that apartheid has no future. Our march to freedom is irreversible. We must not allow fear to stand in our way.
So let me take you then to eNCA's Ayesha Ismail, who is at the Cape Town's Grand Parade, where President Cyril Ramaphosa will be paying tribute to Mandela on the very same balcony that Mandela addressed the nation for the first time in about 27 years from that particular balcony. Ayesha, so the build-up continues. It's part of a series of events that have been held today to mark 30 years since the release of Nelson Mandela. So you are at the spot where the world got to see Nelson Mandela for the first time in a very, very long time. Tell me what the build-up feels like, looks like, and what we expect from the president's speech a bit later on.
I am indeed standing on the very spot where Nelson Mandela made his first speech when he came from Victor Verster prison on the 11th of February. And at the moment there are hundreds of people on the Grand Parade and sitting in front of the City Hall waiting for President Cyril Ramaphosa to take to the balcony where he will be where he will make his address. And he's expected to talk about what happened on the 11th of February when he himself stood next to Nelson Mandela on that day. He will also speak about the 30 years, how far South Africa has come in the 30 years, and also the way forward. But just before that happened, there was a lecture which took place in the City Hall, and that lecture was conducted by a Nobel Peace Laureate, Lima Bowie from Liberia, and she talked about how she grew up in Liberia and how she came to know about Nelson Mandela, and basically said that politicians have lost the values of Nelson Mandela. She also had a go at African politicians, saying that they are treating their countries like their farms and like their plantations. She also lambasted them for driving in posh cars while people are starving, and also said to them that they are obsessed with power and holding on to power, and also wanting to make large sums of money to the detriment of their people. And she also called on politicians to invest in the youth. And people applauded her, and at the moment people are now waiting, and I'm just going to move out of the way so that you can see the people sitting here waiting for President Cyril Ramaphosa to take to the balcony and make his address. And as I said earlier, he is expected to talk about his personal journey, talk about what has happened over the past 30 years, and also to talk about the way forward. And of course, that will probably also set the tone for Sona.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ayesha. In fact, you take me right to the next comment that I want to elicit from you about the parallels between what that Nobel laureate from Liberia said with the moment in history where we are as South Africa, with just 2 days before President Ramaphosa delivers what many are billing as, perhaps the most important State of the Nation address, certainly in the last few years. I imagine that this will be sort of acting as a jolt to his conscience, even as he speaks from that balcony, but also importantly from the floor of the National Assembly on Thursday.
Well, yes, I mean, I think that people would probably see his address this afternoon as a rehearsal, and we will be able to check and understand from what he's going to be saying today what exactly the theme and the tone will be for Sona.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ayesha Ismail live for us from the Grand Parade in Cape Town. We are on standby for that speech to be delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. It will be marking the 30th anniversary of the release of Nelson Mandela, and that historic speech delivered from that balcony that you were seeing behind Ayesha there by Nelson Mandela at the time before he became president, with Cyril Ramaphosa holding the mic for him on that particular day. So